What's up, guys? Welcome to my new series where I'm doing each Power 4 team's most impactful transfer. I'm going conference by conference, so today is ACC. Next video will be Big 10, Big 12, SEC. Then I'm doing a full separate video for G5. So let's get started. First, I'm doing alphabetical order, so whichever team comes first. The first team is Boston College. And for them, the most impactful transfer, in my opinion, is quarterback Dylan Lonergan from Alabama. He will replace Thomas Castellanos, who had a pretty dramatic exit from Boston College at the end of last season. Somebody I was very high on pairing with head coach Bill O'Brien. And speaking of that, Lonergan was actually recruited by Bill O'Brien at Alabama when O'Brien was the offensive coordinator there in 2023. Lonergan was a 4-star recruit that year and ranked the 12th best quarterback in that class. For California, it's got to be quarterback Devin Brown from Ohio State. Cal had a rough portal season, and to be honest, the spring portal was less kind to them than the winter portal was. Whether that's a Justin Wilcox thing or a GM Ron Rivera thing, that's a topic for another video. Devin Brown will replace Fernando Mendoza at quarterback, who went off to Indiana. Brown was a 4-star recruit in the 2022 class and was the 6th-rated quarterback of that class. The only reason Brown hasn't been a starter yet is because of Ohio State's plethora of good quarterbacks, as always, year in and year out, but Brown should get a lot of eyes on him this season. Next up is Clemson, and this is funny because every other year the transfer portal has been alive, I wouldn't have been able to do this video on Clemson. I would have had to leave them out because Dabo never believed in the portal until this year. And while Clemson did not get a stud in the portal or anything like that, they did get defensive end Jeremiah Alexander from Alabama, and I think he'll be really good. He comes into this year as a redshirt sophomore with experience in all 3 years at Alabama. He should add to a ridiculous D-line at Clemson and just be another body for them whenever they need it. For Duke, it can't be anybody other than Darian Mensah, the quarterback from Tulane. Darian Mensah comes to Duke after a heck of a year at Tulane in his first year as a college starter. He threw for over 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, only 6 picks, and led the Green Wave to an AAC title appearance. Imagining him in the ACC is so exciting, and we will see if Duke can improve on a hell of a year in 2024 under Manny Diaz. For Florida State, this is a tough one. I almost went with wide receiver Squirrel White coming over from Tennessee, but I decided to go with Elijah Herring, the linebacker from Memphis, and also played a year at Tennessee. Herring has had 2 seasons in a row with over 60 tackles and also added 4 sacks and 2 picks last year. We know Florida State needs everything they can get to turn around the program, especially right now, but I think Elijah is a huge bright spot and will be very helpful in doing that. For Georgia Tech, I'm going with one of the most underrated transfers in the portal, Eric Rivers, the wide receiver from FIU. Rivers comes from Florida International to help out star quarterback Haynes King in the passing game. Rivers had almost 1,200 yards receiving and 12 touchdowns for the Golden Panthers last year, with Keywan Jenkins at quarterback for him. And no shade to Jenkins because he was really good last year, but Haynes King is a step above him, obviously, and these two will benefit tremendously from each other. For Louisville, I got to go Miller Moss, the transfer from USC. And funny enough, Miller Moss came onto the scene and had his breakout game against Louisville in the Holiday Bowl in 2023, where he threw for 6 touchdown passes. Last year, as a full-time starter for the Trojans, he threw for 2,600 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 9 picks. With Louisville having ACC title hopes, and after losing Tyler Shuck to the draft last week, Miller Moss could be awesome for the Cardinals. For Miami, I can definitely see people saying Carson Beck, just because if they didn't have Carson Beck coming over, who would be Miami's quarterback? I definitely could see that. I'm going with wide receiver C.J. Daniels from LSU. And the reason behind that is because Carson Beck is obviously a downgrade from what Cam Ward was at Miami last year. And I think C.J. Daniels can step into the wide receiver room and just be one of the best starting out. Daniels had over 1,100 yards receiving for Liberty in 2023, then came over to LSU last year and finished with almost 500 yards, but he had 0 touchdowns. So yes, he needs some confidence going into this season, and with Miami's track record of really good wide receivers, I think it'll be really good for Daniels. For NC State, I'm going defensive end Kean Sloan from Utah State. Not a lot of high-profile names for NC State, but Sloan is going to come over and bring toughness. Last year for Utah State, he had 49 total tackles with 10 tackles for loss and 8 sacks. He is going to be a menace for the Wolfpack's defensive line. For North Carolina, I've got to go with new transfer quarterback Gio Lopez from South Alabama. I mean, it's got to be him, right? UNC did not know what they were going to do at quarterback until Lopez fully committed just last week. In his first year as a starter last year at South Alabama, he threw for 2,600 yards, 18 touchdowns, and only 5 picks. He does not turn the ball over very much at all. He's also very elusive and added 500 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground last season. For Pittsburgh, it's another defensive end from Utah State coming to the ACC, and that is Blaine Spires. This one was a tough one. No true huge names coming to Pitt this offseason, but Spires has a chance to show out this year. He was riddled with injuries last year, but he's an older guy, he's a veteran, and when he's healthy, he can give you 10 tackles for loss and 5 sacks. And if you consider yourself a true college football fanatic, this is the channel for you. Consider clicking that subscribe button. I'm also on TikTok and Twitter, posting every day on both of those, and trying to post every day on here as well. At SMU, this one might be a weird one for most people, but I'm going running back TJ Harden from UCLA. This one was a tough one. The Mustangs got a lot of good names in the portal. I could have went Tyler Van Dyke, but I don't know how much time at quarterback he will see this year, and I almost went Zakie Barker on the defensive side. But TJ Harden, man, I fell in love with his game in 2023 for the Bruins, where he had almost 1,000 scrimmage yards and 9 touchdowns. He's just a total game changer and can fill Brashard Smith's shoes really well. For Stanford, this is another program that had a really dramatic offseason and a lot of changes. GM Andrew Luck fired Troy Taylor, and that was just about a month ago for some bullying allegations and accusations about what he did to assistant coaches. And he hired Frank Reich to be the interim head coach there just for this season, and then they'll go on to a full-on coaching search in the 2026 offseason. So it's going to be a weird year for the Cardinals, but Dylan Rizek, the transfer from UCF at quarterback, I think he'll be really good for them. He played in 6 games last year for UCF, showed a ton of flashes, and especially against Arizona and then Arizona State the next week. At Syracuse, this is a recent one. Quarterback Steve Angeli from Notre Dame is coming to play for the Orange. Angeli comes from South Bend after showing up in some critical moments for the Irish last year. This guy dominated the bowl game in 2023, thought to be maybe the starter last year until Riley Leonard from Duke came over. But even in periods of time where Leonard went down, like the Penn State game last year in the Orange Bowl, he sparked that offense and went 6 of 7 and really was the best passer of the night. So I'm so excited for Angeli to be at Syracuse and work with Fran Brown. For Virginia, I'm cheating on this one. I'm going 2 guys. First is quarterback Chandler Morris from North Texas and probably most notably TCU. And then the running back over there, Harrison Whaley from Wyoming. I just wanted to give both of these guys a spotlight. We should know quarterback Chandler Morris. He played 3 years at TCU before transferring to North Texas, where he dominated in Eric Morris's system, throwing for 3,800 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 12 picks. For Harrison Whaley, he had an amazing 2022 and 2023 season with over 1,000 scrimmage yards in both seasons. But after so many changes to Wyoming's coaching staff last year, and himself getting injured, he only played in 4 games. So I think he'll be awesome for the Cavaliers, and that offense as a whole will be so fun to watch. For Virginia Tech, I'm going one of the 2 running backs they got in the transfer portal, running back Terrion Stewart from Bowling Green. So yeah, I definitely thought about cheating again with Terrion Stewart and the other running back, Braden Bennett from Coastal Carolina. But Terrion Stewart gets the nod here. He had over 900 scrimmage yards last season and 6 touchdowns. He should fit right in next to Kyron Drones in that run-heavy system and replace Bashaw Tootin for the Hokies. At Wake Forest, I got to go quarterback Robbie Ashford from Auburn and most recently last season from South Carolina. Wake Forest got 2 quarterbacks in the portal, with Deshaun Purdy also coming over from Charlotte, but I believe Ashford would definitely be the starter. For South Carolina, Ashford played well in limited time, and especially when Lenore Sellers was off the field. In fact, he had 133 yards on the ground against Akron last season. And under Jake Dickert's new regime, this should be a fun duo. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank y'all for watching. Remember, I'm doing this for every Power 4 conference, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and then I'm doing G5 as a whole in another video. So definitely consider subscribing. Also follow me on TikTok, Twitter. Appreciate y'all.